All right, greetings. This is Body-Culinary, and I'm inviting you into the food prep area with me for some living foods meditation, right? So, over here, we like to focus on the whole food, right? With all of the living water intact, because most of your body is what? Water. So, we're going to make a watermelon juice. And one of the things that I like to do is focus more on green juices or smoothies. And one of the reasons being is that I'm very sensitive to folks on, number one, that are on a budget. Number two, you want what you're intaking with your food to be very simple and sustainable, right? So the fruits in particular, it can be a lot of sugar. So a lot of folks go to the big juice bars in the city, in the States, and they'll be chugging out all of these juices. So I've tried all different kinds of experiments and extremes. And I found that when it comes to fruit, keeping the fiber intact helps us to feel very satiated. So my watermelon juice that I'm going to do today is I'm going to use this watermelon. It does have the seeds in it. But it's not the sweetest watermelon. So we don't want to waste anything, right? We're going to make use of anything that we took our time and energy to work for, funds and to go and shop, or if you're growing it in your garden. So we don't want to waste anything. So I want the fiber out of this. When this is grown without pesticides, the rind, you can actually juice the rind so that the rind will actually really flush out your kidneys, right? And it's really good for urinary tract infections or edema if you have a lot of water retention. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the watermelon, and I'm also going to add to that because I like a lot of flavor. And remember, all different foods are medicine. So I'm going to use half of a lime, and I'm also going to use some fresh ginger, right? Because I like the heat of the ginger. And I'm going to scrape off. I'm going to scrape off the ginger. Just scrape off the skin of the ginger. I like a lot of ginger. I like a lot of heat. So I know right now in the States, it's pretty chilly. So many folks are drinking a lot of hot drinks, and that can lead to many people continue to drinking a whole lot of coffee. I don't like to demonize any food. I just like to share the enjoyment of food and provide information, and then provide a space for you to constantly upgrade your food, right? You have many different choices depending on what your goals are. So I just don't need the caffeine because I'm up enough and my circulation is enhanced by eating ginger, warming foods, as well as movement, right? So exercise is something else that can warm you up if you're in the cold temperatures. I'm extremely sensitive to cold temperatures, and I've been known a few times to have my fingers almost turn blue out in New York, walking from downtown Brooklyn with my bike after I'm training some clients. So the idea of, because I used to carry around boiling hot thermoses all day of hot water. So I'm really fine with room temperature, though I do realize many people are in the cold, and I'm always experimenting. And I can never forget all the years that it took me to just get to like a sweet spot, and that's an evolution. So I like to use a lot of things that provide heat and flavor at the same time. That way, the medicinal healing properties of it being really good for your circulation are beneficial. It's inexpensive, and it's not leaving any toxic chemicals behind for your liver to have to deal with, right? When taking all kinds of pills and stuff. So we have the ginger, which is good for your circulation. Smells really good. We have the lime, and when you can find it here in Central America, I like to use the Jamaican lime. Sometimes in the States, you can find them in the Caribbean/Korean fruit and vegetable stands, although they will charge you more. But I'd rather pay for this, right, than medication. So I have half of a watermelon. This is the biggest watermelon. Again, it's not the sweetest. It's not the. I'm not going to waste it. So I'm going to use my serrated knife. I'm just going to cut around the edges. And as we talked about in one of my most recent videos, having not too many, but some simple tools can really make your experience of preparing your food a lot more enjoyable, right? If you're struggling with the knife because the knife is not sharp, or if it's a super cheap knife, that can make your work take longer. But don't get me wrong, I'll use whatever is in front of me and available to me. So if I just have a knife and a cutting board and whatever's available at the fruit and vegetable stand, that's what I'm going to use. So when I didn't have a Vitamix here in Central America, I just used, I got my hands on a NutriBullet, so I could use that. So many people have lots of tools that they are not using at home. So it makes sense to, if you got something for a wedding gift or a birthday gift or a registry, to make use of those things. So I like a knife that can glide right through, because that makes it, just much more pleasant. So instead of running this to the juicer, which I could do, just to be mindful of your blood sugar, and then also giving you some fiber, so the fiber will slow down the rate at which that sugar hits your bloodstream. And it's hot here right now, so it's very hydrating. So looking for the feeling and the sensation of satiation. Now, to get all the juice out of your lime, my grandma Lou was strong. She would just squeeze this with one hand, and she would squeeze it dry. But you can use this, or you can also use a fork, right, to get all of the juice out of the lime. So usually I'll make like an extra portion. Now, something also to be mindful of is that when folks are doing just plain fruit juice, you would have to juice so much fruit and you lose a lot of the fiber, which could potentially make you feel full, satiated. And if you're on a budget, that can wind up driving your food bill prices way up. So again, that's another certain reasons why when it comes to fruit, I want the whole fruit. Then also, if you get an idea of a good sized portion, when you're blending things down, it's very easy to start really going for broke on the portions, right? So I'm going to take a nice piece of ginger. Nice chunk off of that ginger. The ginger, this. I'm making use of my simple NutriBullet. So you don't want to over blend your juices or your smoothies, because we don't want to cook them. We want the life force of the living energy, right? And that water, we don't want it to heat up. We don't want to cook it. We want all those enzymes intact, right? So enzymes do get destroyed. Just think of like if you were to be inside of an oven, right? Or a broiler or whatever. A lot of that life force gets dried out, and we don't want to dry the body, because most of the body is what? Water. So we want all of that water. And I'll make a nice size, and I'll portion it. I have some for me, and save some for my sister. All right, so instead of just having the juice without the fiber, now I have all that fiber in there. That's yummy. So it's more satiating. This is one of the best things for your skin. And if you feel very dehydrated, if your heels are cracked, if your lips are dry and cracked, that's usually a sign of dehydration. So that's a time we may want to look more at how much salt we're taking in, even if it's the better Celtic salt or sea salt, right? If we're eating things that dry us out. So I think of when I was little and coming up, if you go to the Caribbean market and you see the salt fish, right? The salt is used for what? To preserve the fish, but all the water is taken out of it, right? So we really want to stay hydrated. So again, my juice, watermelon juice, I'm keeping the fiber in it. So that's a way to keep your budget, stay within your spending plan, but also just as important, if not more important, to stay like super satiated, right? Because it's so much information. There's so much information out there, live foods, the temperatures, the enzymes. It can be a bit overwhelming and you're hopping all over the place. But it's nothing like trying things out for yourself and to see if you feel satiated. And when I'm saying satiated, I mean like you leave the meal and you feel like I had enough. I'm satisfied, but I'm not stuffed, you know? So I'm gonna make another portion. Now, if I had just been making straight watermelon juice, which you could do if you want this option, you can do it however you like. I'm gonna put another big chunk, the rest of that ginger in there. And again, I have all the fiber in there, and fiber has a purpose. Now, again, if this was organic, I would take the rind and I would juice it. So I don't think that this one is organic. Keep in mind, there are some farmers that can't afford the cost of the pesticides. So that's a benefit to you. All right, I was watching yesterday, some folks in Jamaica, some of the farmers in Jamaica be interviewed, and they just didn't have any money for any pesticides, so they were just growing all natural. So I don't think they were just thinking of, organic or whatever. They're just thinking like, that's the way the food naturally grows. So that's why I like to say I like to roll with the whole mindset of my grandma. So I'm just going to blend that up. Shake it up a little bit. So now, if you don't have a high-powered blender or a Vitamix, in this case, this is watermelon, so free to just take your knife and maybe slice in there, because I put big chunks in there. Slice up the watermelon a little bit more, so that way you can blend. Okay, so I think I have even more room, so that's giving me a lot of juice. And the fiber, and yes, I do have the watermelon seeds in it. You know they sell watermelon seeds. So again, I really like to emphasize the whole food. Your food bill will stay down. If you're in an area where you have good soil, you can keep the seeds because watermelon seeds grow very easily. And if you look through my Instagram post, you can see one of the watermelons I grew, which is really beautiful yellow watermelon. And in fact, the most delicious yellow watermelon I have ever tasted from a watermelon that I ate. So these actually will sprout and germinate really easily. And actually, these are being sold, watermelon seeds, online. So it's not all fruits where you can eat the seeds, but watermelon you can. So I'm blending that right up in there with the rest of the fiber. Another note, right, in terms of practicality and stretching what you've got, sometimes we're in a rush. In order to preserve your Vitamix or your different tools, you're going to make sure that you keep them very clean, right? So when you're done using them and washing them, when you make dressings and other things, you can take a knife and go around the edges to make sure you don't have bits of tahini or sesame seeds or anything stuck in here that would really interrupt the taste of your juice. So that's just a little tip. And make sure you keep these things really clean. Also a good idea to keep a good brush around so you can go into the crevices around your knives. You want to be a stickler for clean and not having particles of food in the bottom of your blender or your NutriBullet. All right, so what's my towel? So I think I got more than enough for me and my sister. Right? I could even, my jars. And I love dishes and plates and things, but I am one to recycle jars, right? Because they already have lids that fit on them. And you do want to have things that are spill proof because quite often you can put an extra portion to the side, right? So these are all tips and things that you can use to make this easy because so many people say, oh, I could never do that. That's not a fact. You know what I'm saying? I've been a busy mother. I've lived out of a suitcase. It doesn't matter necessarily what budget you're on. It's just changing the channel and have a paradigm where it's fun, it's easy, it's tasty, it's sustainable, it's hydrating. You go to the bathroom, your body feels good, you don't feel clogged up and sleepy, and then you have some support, right? So, which is why you can tune in over here. So, it's always a good idea to put aside some extra, not for days and days, because I'm even noticing now the color will change and it will oxidize, right? So all those living enzymes will oxidize. So if you just have it for like several hours, maybe for like a next meal, that should be fine. And then I have the rest of this in here. I'm just gonna blend that up. So remember, in the first batch, I put ginger and lime in it. And once again, I do have the seeds in there. So I'm gonna taste that ginger because I have a lot of ginger and I like the spice. And pour it back and forth. I want to taste the heat of the ginger. So look how much I give you. That's like half of a watermelon. So here, and again, when things are seasonal, if you don't have watermelon, if it's pricey because it's out of season, make an effort to use what you have because Mother Nature is going to give us something in every environment. So if apples are available to you in the north, then use apples and become an apple connoisseur, right? So I'm always going to give some when my son is around to my son and to my sister. And the other wonderful thing is I can just clean this all up with just some hot water, so I don't need loads of dish detergent and stuff that's really drying out my hands. Which reminds me of a couple of things I love to create. So as you know, anything having to do with the garden or natural movement and dance and fitness or preparing food, that's me all day. That I'm interested in all day. So I have made some soap. Now I don't like to use products, but for the times if I did want soap, if I'm traveling, I can use that same soap. If I wanted to wash a stain out of something, or if I wanted to wash, my delicate parts, body parts, those private areas. And then also, if I'm traveling, I can use it for several things. So I have made some coconut oil soap. So you can also see that. Do follow me on Instagram. So I post a lot of what I'm doing in the garden and in the food prep area on Instagram. And make sure you subscribe to the page, share it with your sisters and your friends, and men, folks. Everybody could benefit. I don't like to tell grown folks what to do. Growing something and learning how to prepare your own stuff and carry your own food. I like to say your food should outdo anybody else's food. All right, so I do want to show you some of the soap that I'm making. So you can let me know what your idea is. This is the first batch of, it's just extra virgin cold pressed coconut soap, but it's a paste. It's a paste. So I just came from traveling to the southern part area of Central America. And instead of carrying all these big bottles of soap, this is like a castile soap, but this is the paste so you can dilute it. Isn't that genius? So it doesn't have to take up a lot of room in your suitcase or with your toiletries. And you can put it in little containers or recycled Dr. Bronner's or castile soap bottle, and you can dilute it and stretch it out. So you can use that to wash out your undies. If you wanted to wash your hair, it's really delicate. If you wanted to put it on your private parts. So this is the first batch. I've made these, and I also made some plant milk bags because I've been using produce bags and all different kinds of materials to strain nut milks and certain times juices, which again are portable and on the road or if you're so-called off-grid. But over time, they get holes in them, right? And they're not very sturdy. And I really do a lot of things by hand because the flavor is just, to me, superior. Just like my grandma's food, there's a reason why her food tastes better. So I do have the plant milk bags on my Etsy shop, so you can test them out. And the thing that's so wonderful is that they're super duper sturdy, right? And so you can use them for squeezing out your nut and seed milks or certain sauces and texture that's really smooth, which can make a big difference in how much you enjoy your milks. Factor super, super high when it comes to eating your own food. So the plant milk bags are on the Etsy shop. I haven't found containers to put the coconut castile paste, soap paste in yet, but I will be putting those up. And let's see, what else are other goodies? Someone was asking yesterday about some of the bags that I've been using for gardening. So I did create several kits so that all my family members and stuff that are still in the States, and then for the folks that I'm working with and coaching online who have children. See, I'm a mom. I have to be a strategist. Either I'm going to go on their team or they're going to come on my team. I can't go on their team because I'll be really jacked up, overweight, and with acne. So I put some kits together for people that are in small apartments. If you want to start growing something, because I started growing in a small New York City apartment. So if you have children and you want to get them into growing, and just you for yourself, it creates such a wonderful respect for the food that you're putting into your body temple. So I have some gardening kits and some of the different types of things that I've been using to grow in, and one of them are different types of grow bags. So I did put together a kit for beginners. For one of my clients, if she's happens to see this, I put a kit of some things for her mate, or sometimes your mate or your husband. Some people may be more resistant to changing their food, and we do not want to fight people around food or alienate them, right? So you want to meet people where they're at. So for me, I've been on a path for about 30 years, right? From having my son at home to vegetarian to vegan. This last stint as a living foodist, 10 years. So it's been a long journey. So I'm really sensitive to meeting people where they're at, so that the experience is really pleasant and enjoyable. So I always keep those things in mind. Other tools you can use, do check out Co-Living Foods in the Hood, Part 1, with menus to fit your budget. So there's a whole list of different types of food shops on different budgets, or different spending plans, as I like to say, and ideas of menus, or what you could prepare with everything that's inside that that produce bag, right? With Living Foods, it's not a bunch of products at all. It's all the fresh food. So that tool is available. And then I did heal acne with eating all these fresh living foods. That's what I started to put on my skin on the outside. So I'm always playing in food, and at some point it just didn't make sense for me to be wasting all this pulp and all these juices that I was using. So I threw my shower caddy away, and I even stopped buying all that stuff in the health food store. So if I can't eat it, I literally don't put it on my skin. So shout out to one of my mentors, Queen Afua, because she was the first person years ago, maybe 1991, 92, that had put me onto that. So it's a wonderful thing to constantly keep expanding on the gems that my elders have shared with me. So you got the plant milk bags, the coconut Castile paste, watermelon juice with ginger and lime. That's what we're using today. And it's an easy way to do a cleanse, if you will. So you don't feel like you're doing these extremes of fasting. People have a tendency to beat themselves up and feel like they're struggling through a fast. And if you enjoy what you're doing, it's not a diet. It's just a way of consuming. It's a wonderful way of self-care for your hair and your skin. Anything that's old that's in there has to come out, and the body is intelligent enough to push it out. Just like some of these plants and these avocado trees and stuff that I'm planting outside, they have an intelligence. If I have them in a pot that's too small, they'll be stunted in their growth. So the body knows how to go to its natural healthy weight when you're moving it, when you're putting sun on it so it can synthesize vitamin D, and when you just stop putting junk in your body that doesn't agree with your body, right? Whatever's walking and talking around right now is an accumulation of all the different habits and the things that you've been putting into your body temple, or whatever kind of movement or lack of movement that you've been doing. So that is what I'm sharing today. Do subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you'll be notified whenever I go live or I update new content, and I would love to hear from you. And do check out the puppet series, Sister Butterfly and Sister Monkey Learn to Eat Better. All right then, great day. Because I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna make some more stuff. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely make some more stuff. Let's see. Yeah, if I could figure out how to close the live, that would be great. So I gotta go share my watermelon juice.